That blue background should help your raised hand. Councilmember Jonathan, we'll see if that works better. I call to order the July 8th, 2021 meeting of the City Council Successor Agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency and Housing Authority meeting. Please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnik.
Here.
Councilman Jonathan.
Present.
Councilmember Nestandi.
Here.
Councilmember Quintanilla.
Presente.
Mayor Kelly.
Here.
All present.
And Councilmember Quintanilla will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by inspiration or invocation from Mayor Pro Tem Harnik.
Before I lead the pledge, I wanted to take a moment to honor all of the veterans that have served and all of the current enlisted members in the service. So thank you for all of your patriotic service and duty. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I had some inspiration kind of planned when I saw that I was going to do this. And then I watched the Stanley Cup last night, the Stanley Cup playoff. And I don't know if anybody else watched it, but it's an amazing game. Hockey is amazing under the best and under the worst of circumstances. But what I was so impressed with when these two teams played, and there was a victor, of course, at the end of it, they celebrate and the others, lament, of course. But there is a tradition with the Stanley Cup. And they line up on the ice, each team, and beginning with the captain. And if you've watched hockey, you know that it is competitive and passionate. And those words are actually an understatement when you see these men on the ice. But they line up on the ice, facing each other, beginning with the captain and ending with the goalie. And they start a procession where each one shakes hands with the other and says some kind words and gives them some either consolation or accolades. And it just struck me how kind and gracious it was. And it certainly can serve as inspiration in so many facets of all of our lives. And so if you ever get the chance, please watch this tradition. It will inspire you. And no matter how competitive we are, wherever we are, as things resolve, we can always give a kind word and shake a hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any action to report from closed session?
Yes, Mayor, we do have two actions to report from closed session. The first action report is related to item number 2 on the closed session agenda. And by unanimous vote, the City Council authorized City Manager to execute an operating memorandum number 4, which provides for a 90-day extension of the disposition and development agreement between the city and Desert Way Ventures. Additionally, for closed session item number 3, by unanimous vote again, the City Council voted to authorize the Executive Director to execute a 30-day extension to the exclusive negotiating agreement between the successor agency and Refuge Palm Desert. And that's all we have to report from closed session. Thank you.
Thank you. Which brings us to awards and presentations. We do have a proclamation to present this evening. And were we able to secure Monsignor Lincoln's presence with us?
He has called in, and I'm just getting him to unmute now.
Looks like he's there twice. And hopefully can hear us.
And hopefully we can let him know he appears to be on mute if he doesn't know it.
I'm counting on Neep to deal with those logistics.
I have sent him instructions on how to unmute his phone.
All right. Well, we will trust that he can hear us. I was approached and encouraged to issue a proclamation from the city of Palm Desert honoring Monsignor Howard Lincoln on the occasion of his retirement. And I was very pleased to do so because the generosity you have inspired from Sacred Heart beyond its boundaries has given you particular credence in our community and made it possible for you to be a spokesperson in response to crises and causes such as the current vaccination campaign. And so in appreciation, we issued the following proclamation, and I have asked Councilmember Gina Nestante, an active member of Sacred Heart, to join me in presenting the proclamation. Whereas the Reverend Monsignor Howard Lincoln has just concluded 30 years in active ministry, including 20 years at Sacred Heart Roman Catholic Parish here in Palm Desert. And
whereas Monsignor Lincoln's capacity for empathy with all people has led to a near doubling of his parish, and
whereas Monsignor Lincoln has inspired donations allowing for expansion of Sacred Heart School, including the addition of a STEM lab. And
whereas under Monsignor Lincoln's leadership, Sacred Heart parishioners have donated significant funds to at least 8 other parishes, embodying generosity in a broad sense of community responsibility. And
whereas Monsignor Lincoln has spoken with authority on issues of concern beyond his parish, including the urgency of addressing homelessness and the importance of COVID-19 vaccinations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kathleen Kelly, Mayor of the City of Palm Desert, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby express congratulations to Reverend Monsignor Howard Lincoln on the occasion of his retirement and express best wishes for his continued service in the Coachella Valley. I see his phone number has disappeared, but I'm confident staff will make sure that he's back. I'm confident that staff will make sure that the formal proclamation reaches his attention. And Monsignor Lincoln, if you're present, did you wish to say a word? Looks like not, but thank you.
wait, Mayor, he's calling me right now. I know this is, I'm going to answer it. Let's
Sure.
see. Father Lincoln,
Sheena, hi, I'm looking right at you. I just moved here. I don't have a camera or a microphone. I'm very touched and I'm very grateful for your kind words. And I feel that Sacred Heart voted the community to do what we tried to do. And I'm very proud. I hope this isn't bragging, but we can document that we gave away 22 million in the last 20 years. And we're very proud of that. And serving the community is the best way to do. So I'm very, very grateful to all of you. And I thank you very, very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you, Father. Thank you.
I think we were able to hear that despite the challenges. Item 2 is consideration of the designation of voting delegates and alternates for the League of California Cities 2021 annual conference. And we all got the memo pertaining to that. Unfortunately, this year I have to break my perfect attendance record. I won't be able to attend, so I'm out of the mix. Are all others in attendance in September?
Yes.
Yes. Karina, are you attending?
I will not be attending, unfortunately.
And Gina, do you know if you're
I'll
able?
need to look at my schedule. Can I get back to you, Mayor?
Well, I'll tell you what, we have 2 folks who are sure they're attending. So who would like to be the delegate and who would like to be the alternate?
Jen would like to be the delegate.
I knew that was coming.
Although the way you said that was some supreme delegation right there.
There you go. And I will volunteer to be the substitute. How about that?
I am happy to do that for the city.
All right. Madam Clerk, do we need a motion to that effect?
Yes.
So that was Sabby's motion and and Gina's second.
Second.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nestandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes,
motion carries 5-0.
thank you. This brings us to the time for public comments on non-agenda items. If you are present and would like to speak on something which is not on the agenda, this is the time to claim your allotted 3 minutes by using the raised hand button on Zoom. I don't see anyone in the attendee group who's on the telephone, so we can probably skip those instructions. Please understand that pursuant to the Brown Act, the council may not engage in any lengthy discussion of items that weren't on the published agenda. So we can listen attentively, perhaps ask staff to follow up. But I assure you, we are always available through City Hall to discuss items of interest to our residents at length. I see a hand up from a Windy Jonathan. So Madam Clerk, would you please elevate Ms. Jonathan to see what's on her mind?
Mrs. Jonathan, you have 3 minutes.
Troops, just give staff a chance to handle things.
Actually, I have a secret mute button that I'm using.
Mrs. Jonathan, if you unmute your...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Kelly and council members. As the Desert Sands Unified School District Board of Trustee for Palm Desert, I just wanted to take the time to thank you for your generous support for our schools here in Palm Desert. I happen to know that you passed your budget, and once again, you're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars towards our elementary, middle, and high schools. And I just want you to know that this has really not gone unnoticed. It never has. And these funds will truly make a huge impact on the students in our area. And as a school board member, it warms my heart, and it truly shows how much importance you place in our children and really the future of our community. So thank you again. We really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for featuring the extent to which the city does support the good work of our educators. Ms. Ortega, is there anyone else in queue?
There is no one else in the queue.
All right, you did a superb job with public comments.
Thank you.
Which brings us to the consent calendar. Is there anything to be removed from consent? If not, then I'll take a motion for the full consent calendar.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
And for the benefit of those listening from the public, there were just 16 items that we were able to deal with expeditiously because of very thorough background work from staff and careful study of staff reports by council. So congratulations all around. Which brings us to item 20, resolution number 2021-49, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Desert authorizing the levy of a special tax in Community Facilities District number 2005-1, University Park, for fiscal year 2021-2022. Ms. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. This is the annual request to levy the special assessment for the Community Facilities District in University Park. It is just really ministerial at this point. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I see none. So who is in a moving mood?
So moved.
I'm in a second moving mood.
Great. Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Item 21 is resolution number 2021-50, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Desert increasing public notification, requiring community engagement plans for certain projects under the California Environmental Quality Act, and directing staff to initiate a zone ordinance amendment related changes to Chapter 25.60.060, public hearing and public notice. Mr. Seah.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Eric Seha, your Interim Director for Development Services. Today, we bring forward a resolution asking the Council to establish policies for better community engagement for certain projects, and then again to direct staff to initiate that zoning ordinance amendment. Essentially, that the remaining portions of Palm Desert that remain undeveloped are north of Frank Sinatra Drive. The development pattern out there is quite dispersed. And so we're concerned that we're not getting adequate community engagement and involvement in the planning process. Therefore, we're asking that The developers submit a community engagement plan to the planning staff at the time of project submittal, that the staff and the developer work together to identify the appropriate parties for meetings, community meetings prior to moving forward to hearing bodies such as Architectural Review Commission and Planning Commission and City Council, and that staff would be in attendance to address those concerns with the developer. We're also asking that for projects that are not exempt from CEQA, that the public notification package be increased from 300 feet around the project to 1,000 feet, and that as a condition of approval for any project, that the developer provide in the closing documents information related to the future development around their project to buyers. So with that, that concludes my report.
Questions from council? Councilmember Jonathan?
Thank you. I lost the hand icon on my Zoom screen. I don't know where it went, but I suspect Mary might have had something to do with that. Mr. Seha, good evening. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Good. Just a couple of quick questions for you. And I have to say, I love that we're doing this. But just a couple of quick questions. That your report indicates that there is no fiscal impact. And I'm just wondering that this will require some additional staff time. Do you feel that current staffing can absorb the additional tasks, or are we looking at expanding our staff to accommodate this?
I do think that with the projects in the pipeline, what's foreseeable in the future, that we can accommodate this with the existing staff.
Thank you. And the follow-up question, which is kind of related, is your report talks about that if somebody's coming in for a minor approval of something, maybe a duplex or something, this will not apply. So can you just clarify specifically which projects these added outreach requirements will apply to?
Sure. So as mentioned in the report, we're applying to projects that would be greater than 5 acres in size and then not exempt from CEQA. So if they have to do a CEQA analysis or any kind of study, that would increase their notification from 300 to 1,000 feet. However, if they are exempt from CEQA, they're compliant with the general plan and zoning, we would still do the notification. It would just be at 300 feet.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
May I ask a follow-up couple of, Councilmember Quintanilla, please go first.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking at one of the items and it says that staff will be present at meetings, provide minutes and a summary. Would that also include the number of participants at the meeting? Not necessarily maybe a sign-in or a list, but just to document the number of individuals that were present. Having heard some of the comments at the planning meeting, and again, that would just allow for additional record keeping and demonstrating that adequate notice was provided.
Absolutely, we would be doing that.
I do have some comments which I'll save, but in this question time, Mr. Seha, if you could help me understand when this applies a bit better. What leads to exemption from CEQA?
So there are a number of exemptions, but most that apply to the city are categorical exemptions. There's over 30 of those. And essentially, if you're a project less than 5 acres in size, you may be considered an infill development, which would not require a further CEQA study. There could be other projects that, and I apologize, there's over 30 of them. I'm not going to be able to think of them all at the moment, but some are really minor, like Councilmember Jonathan alluded to. There's things like signs, parking lots that, because they're exempt from CEQA review, may not require the increase from 300 to 1,000 feet for notification.
Because here's what I'm wondering. The fourth criterion refers to projects greater than 5 acres, which is already one rule for dividing between what's big and what's little. Might that be sufficient? I'm always wary of incorporating standards when I don't know fully what I'm incorporating, what I'm importing into this framework, and what I'm buying. So would it be sufficient to just use the 5-acre rule?
So any project, if it's greater than 5 acres, we could increase from 3 to 1,000 feet.
I'm asking if that would seem to accomplish the desired goal.
I think it would, because we make the CEQA reference itself, and essentially any project over 5 acres would have to do some kind of CEQA analysis. So I think it would accomplish your goal at 5 acres.
All right. Other questions? Comments? Yes, Councilmember Nastande.
Yeah, I believe this resolution will go a long way and to make the community feel more engaged with the city council and the planning commission, because from my experience, it seems often that the problem becomes when our residents are surprised by something, even if, you know, I think this will help with the communication. So residents aren't as surprised and are hearing about a project once it's gone through planning and then it's coming to city council, and then we get everybody, you know, wanting to make changes or be upset. So I think this is a big step in the right direction.
Mayor Pro Tem Arnick and then Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you. First, I think this is great, and everything Gina, but Councilmember Nastande said, I agree with. It's so important to get their feedback early on so that we can make adjustments we may not have seen or that will make the community that much better. And now I'm afraid I have a question. I apologize for that. When we send out notices, and so often when we do, what we hear is, well, gee, I didn't get one. Is there any way that we can ensure that everyone gets one? Or when we hear, I didn't get one, we can say, well, no, we have this that says it was sent. Because that sometimes is an issue, and the better we can avoid it, the better off we all are.
I don't have a great solution for that. We go off the county assessor's property owner information as required by state law. And it is a challenge, particularly given that we have many residents that are not year round, and they may have mail that goes to other addresses or to a PO box.
So even at least if we have a mail merge and we have that list that we have from the county assessors, at least we can say, well, this is what we had and this is where we sent it. Okay, thank you. I'm really happy we're doing this. I think this is great. Thank you.
And in essence, then we are sending the notice to the same address where the property tax is sent, which presumably should be an official address. Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. Continuing with a couple of questions that'll lead to a comment, if you don't mind. Number one, CEQA stands for California Environmental Quality Act. Is that correct, Mr. Ceja?
That is correct.
Good guess on my part. So just to be clear on condition 4 or recommendation number 4, if a project is greater than 5 acres and it has sought and received categorical exemption from CEQA, it will still be required to have the $1,000 notification then under what the mayor is proposing. Is that correct?
It would still require the 1,000-foot notification. And so if there's a CEQA analysis, it's still 1,000 feet.
Okay. So did staff in addressing, you know, improved outreach to impacted residents consider that our experience has shown that there's a couple types of projects that seem to generate interest from neighbors? One, obviously, we've all experienced this recently, is when there's a component of affordable housing or low income housing. And number two, when there's an element of a 2-story design next to a single story existing neighborhood. I'm just wondering, and it's a question and a comment, if somehow, because we know that that creates sensitive situations, we can ensure that through the action we take tonight, that those 2 situations are incorporated into the increased outreach.
Yes, that'll happen. So we will require that community engagement plan and reach out to the community within 1,000 feet from the onset. The difference that is proposed in number 4 is how we do the official notification once we start the hearing bodies.
So I'm thinking specifically, let's take an example of a 4-acre project that has 2-story element and it is next to existing single-story element. Under what's being proposed in the staff report, they would not be subject to the 1,000-foot requirement.
Sorry, they would be subject to a 1,000-foot notification for community engagement. But as we move beyond community engagement and move to the public hearing portion, that's we would keep that at 300.
So what determines being subject to the community engagement portion?
We're proposing any application.
All applications, which, great. Further questions, Councilmember Jonathan, before I offer comments?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Jonathan asked if compliance with this would produce additional staff time. My perception is failure to do this would continue to generate far greater demands on staff time, because surprised people are not happy people. And it's much, much better to engage people early in the process so that they can be participants in the refinement of projects. So like everyone else who has spoken, I'm extremely pleased that staff has brought this forward and highly supportive. And my only question is the one I raised as to whether we should simplify item 4 and just refer to projects greater than 5 acres. So is anyone in a moving mood?
I would make oh, go ahead, Councilmember Jonathan.
Yeah, I think you were asking for comments at this point, Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah. So just before we move forward, I just continue to be concerned about 2-story projects that abut single-story projects and about projects that include affordable housing. I just want to make sure, because those have been sensitive and generated that kind of community response. And I just want to make sure, I think the notification is going out to 1,000 feet. I guess I want some assurance that staff, knowing that we've had the experience of controversy with those types of projects, are you comfortable that this will cover that, or do we need to add some teeth where we include those 2 types of projects in the public input process as well?
I think we're comfortable at this point that it covers that. I think the main issue has been people being surprised that they didn't know it was coming in less than the use. I mean, you're right that there's always going to be some people that don't want certain uses next to them, but I think the basic issue here is people getting caught off guard because they didn't know something was in the queue, and then it comes out and we're seeing hair splitting that we didn't go far enough, or they learned it from a neighbor. So we thought the 1,000-foot radius and that initial communication would cover most of that criticism that we've been receiving.
And when we send out within that 1,000 feet, do we include the HOA itself or the management company?
I was just thinking that's probably a good suggestion in conjunction with Mayor Pro Tem's question about are we sure that people receive it? You're never 100% sure, but that is a belt suspenders item we could do, is ensure that any HOA within 1,000 feet is also copied, so they could help us get the notification out as a belt and suspender. I think that's a really good idea.
Perfect, thank you.
And what I understood from the prior Q&A is that the outreach for engagement applies to all projects.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, Mr. Seha? And quite frankly, Councilmember Jonathan, I think that is preferable to singling out a category of projects. So let's stick with the present generality, which will embrace the categories that you described. But it sounds, and this will come back to us as proposed formal ordinance amendments, correct?
Correct.
So our motion could invite attention to HOAs. Any other comments before someone offers a motion?
I was going to just add the last comment that I concur with all of the comments that have been brought up and the ways of engaging residents so that no one is caught off guard. And I also think that I would be hesitant to attach any additional stipulations to any specific type. But I think that staff has done a great job at putting this together. And with that, I motion to move.
And with the friendly amendment of notifying the HOA or business office of the development that's within that 1,000 feet.
Is that correct, Councilmember Quintanilla?
Yes, that's correct. Motion to move with the addition.
And do you wish to leave number 4 as it is stated, or to adopt the change I put out there for consideration of not referring to CEQA and just referring to projects greater than 5 acres? Not sure.
That
All
one I'm not so sure about. So I think like that one should bear a little bit more discussion.
So we have a motion, and did we get a second?
I would
Let me
second it.
let me make a suggestion as to the issue I featured. Eric, when you bring this back as a formal ordinance amendment, perhaps you could just address whether that CEQA language really adds anything. And if it does, then put that in your staff report so we have that added input before people have to decide what they think.
Mayor, I seconded, so for discussion purposes, and as Councilmember Quintanilla suggested, perhaps it warrants more discussion. And we know the CEQA issue, certainly that's our job. And community members don't know that. So if it seems to me that any project that is greater than 5 acres in size, it would be the right thing to do to include the community in that.
Mayor, I would concur with that because a lot of projects that are more than 5 acres just get categorical exemption from CEQA. And as a result, they would not be subject to the 1,000 feet. And I think the 1,000 feet is just good for everybody. It's just good policy. So I'd like to see that incorporated into today's motion.
Having heard those comments, Councilmember Quintanilla, are you comfortable applying the notice requirement to all projects greater than 5 acres?
I am comfortable with that, Mayor. Thank you.
So the motion before us, which has been seconded, is to adopt staff's recommendation with the 2 clarifications that there should be an added obligation to reach out to HOAs within the covered area, and then just limit item 4 to all projects over 5 acres. Any other comments before we vote? Let's take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes,
motion carries as amended.
thank you. Item 22 is request for approval of a 3-year agreement for animal control field and shelter services to the County of Riverside Department of Animal Services in an amount not to exceed $350,000 annually. Contract number C41770. Mr. Rodriguez, we haven't seen you for a while in this setting.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. Pedro Rodriguez, your Code Compliance Supervisor. Before you is a staff report requesting approval of a 3-year agreement with the California Riverside County Department of Animal Services. You have my staff report. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you for being with us. How are you?
Great. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you. Just one question on your report, and thank you for that. The contract to you, the chart for the total costs indicates that there's about a 50% increase from about 220 to 330 in the space of 2 years or 3 years, I guess. That's a significant increase. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, we received notification from the County of Riverside that they wanted to go with a full cost recovery. They wanted to implement this full cost recovery over a 3-year period that started last year. Last year in August of 2020, we went before council requesting additional funds to meet the gap that we were going to be short on, which was the first year of the increases. And in the chart, it has the proposed rates as the increase per year for the hourly and the overtime, which are the rates that are increasing the most. 2 new charges that were added that were not there before are deceased animal removal and wildlife impounds. Those we were not charged before. Our prior contract was pretty much consistent the 3 years, with the exception of the final year that we had an increase. And yes, it is a significant increase, but it's due to the county passing the resolution to go for full cost recovery.
Okay, and that explains, I mean, the hourly rate for the control officer, that category has doubled. So is that because of the full cost recovery aspect?
Yes, sir. At the beginning, we were being charged $61 an hour. And I think at the end, in fiscal year 22-23, the hourly rate is going to go to $120, $170 for hourly rate, and the overtime is going to go to $157.69.
Ouch. I picked the wrong profession, I guess. Final question. I know I often ask this, and this is a much needed service, don't get me wrong, but do we have an alternative for how we can provide this service at a lesser cost? I mean, are they the only player, and are we bound to go along with the full cost recovery in this proposed contract? Do we have any other choices?
Yes, actually, they are the only service that we can contract with. The other alternative would be if we were to look to bring this item in-house. And we have done some preliminary figures that are pretty close to what we're paying now, with the exception of the startup costs would exceed the actual cost that we're paying now. And we have to take on more additional staff and field services, equipment, vehicles, and so forth.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Discussion, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nestandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Which completes action items and brings us to public hearings. Item 23, request for approval of actions related to declaring the results of a property owner protest proceeding, and if favorable, approve the renewal of and the levy and collection of assessments within the President's Plaza 3 property and business improvement district for fiscal year 2021-2022. This is a public hearing matter, but before I open the public hearing, Mr. Metz, do you have a staff report?
Yes, I do. Good afternoon, Mayor Kelly and members of the City Council. Tom Metz, Deputy City Treasurer, Finance Department. I'm going to share with you a map of the President's Plaza 3 district boundaries. As you can see, in the north, the President's Plaza 3 is bounded by Palm Desert Drive South, a frontage road adjacent to Highway 111. In the south by El Paseo, in the east by Sage Lane, and in the west by a combination of Palm Desert Drive South and Highway 74. Yes. Wildan Financial Services, the city's outside financial consultant, mailed renewal ballots to the 16 property owners within President's Plaza 3 based upon the street addresses shown on the county tax assessment roll. Close that out. Okay. Let's see. Independent of this, staff developed a database of property owner contact information for the purposes of contacting the property owners in order to ensure that they have received their ballots and to answer any questions that they may have about the balloting process. To date, the city has received 12 executed ballots representing a 75% response. In order for the district to be renewed, property owners who collectively comprise more than 50% of the levy must vote in favor of the renewal. That concludes my report. I'm ready to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions before I open the public hearing? I don't see any hands. So I will open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak on these matters should use the raised hand function on a Zoom or *9 on the phone to alert us to your presence and your desire to be heard. I am checking the attendees. I don't see anyone using the phone. So that means we just have to look for raised hands. Madam Clerk, I am not seeing any raised hands. Are you aware of anyone who wishes to be heard?
I do not see anyone waiting to speak.
I will afford one further opportunity before closing the public hearing. But seeing no raised hands, I will close the public hearing. And at this time, then it is appropriate for the city clerk or designee to open and tabulate the ballots that have been returned. And I've been advised that to afford time for that, we may move from this item to council member reports and requests for action, and then come back to complete this item. So, Councilmember Nastante, you are first up for remarks or requests for action.
I don't have any remarks at this time, and thank you very much. Hope everybody had a happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Councilmember Quintanilla.
I have been busy with working with residents and addressing public safety issues, and I don't have any specific recommendations or requests yet. I'm very thankful to staff and to our city manager who's been very responsive and very proactive with what we've got going on and what we're addressing. So no requests, just gratitude to staff and gratitude for a well executed 4th of July event. That was a beautiful community gathering and just excellent gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor. One report and one request. At the Parks and Rec Committee, we got a report about the Aquatic Center, and David Keys shared with us. Is this popping up on your screen? Yes, so that's a new mural at the Aquatic Center. Very cool. If you haven't been by, you can go see it. And one of the significant things that you see in this picture is for the first time, the Aquatic Center has, you can see there, a unisex bathroom and changing room. So that's Palm Desert being progressive. How about that? Just another shot so you can get a different perspective. And here's my favorite. Here's this little boy that wore color matching trunks just for this photo opportunity. So that's new at the Aquatic Center. That was my report. Request is just something that I noticed, and this is a request to our city manager, Mr. Hom, and I noticed in the consent calendar we had, again, a few contracts that expired and were asked to address them. And it's put us in the bind in the past on a regular occasion. And, we, especially when we operate without a contract and then seeking RFPs and so forth. And I've suggested before, and I'm going to suggest to you, because you're still relatively new to us, that we implement some kind of a notification system within our city so that 6 months ahead of time, any and all contracts that are nearing termination can be addressed. Is that something that we can possibly do? It just doesn't seem like a long reach, but it's been a struggle to get that implemented. Can you help us with that?
I think so. One of the projects I've asked Janet and Lori Carney to work on is putting together an annual bid calendar, which will tell us when contracts are up, what we need to bid out, and then probably doing some kind of a sample for each 6th or 8th contract in terms of a small managed competition. Since we're getting asked the question a lot, what would be the cost of setting something up in-house versus keeping it outsourced? So that's going to be a project for our finance department in the next few months as we're continuing to analyze our purchasing procedures and our contract assessment of getting that annual calendar established.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Mayor Pro Tem Arnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to mention that on July 6th, the Environmental Impact Study, Environmental Impact Report comment time closed. And this was on the San Gorgonio Coachella Valley rail line, which we got to come up with an easier name than that. There were 257 comments. There's still a long way to go. One of the very encouraging items is that Amtrak seems to be somewhat energized in really bringing more rail around the country. They have a program called Connect Us, and they just bought some new trains up at Siemens, which is out of Sacramento, which kind of makes us believe that they are energized and ready to go. So we're moving forward. Soon we'll go on to tier 2 in this project. It's not going to happen as quickly as we'd like because that's how these kind of things work. It's probably still 10 years out, but it's one of those things we all need to speak up, let our voices be heard, support it, and hopefully we will have good rail connection from the Coachella Valley and we check a lot of boxes in getting this. So we certainly need it. And they're even talking about having a stop at Loma Linda, which I know so many people in our valley and in Blythe and areas beyond would benefit from. So it's exciting, and we're glad to see that happen. The other thing is on July 24th, don't forget, you got Save Your Blood. We have the 9 Cities Blood Challenge. So we need to show up for Palm Desert on July 24th at our community center between 8 and 2 to donate blood. And, you know, it's our competition. Every year we do this. And no matter who wins as a city, everybody wins who needs blood, whose loved one needs blood. So please show up July 24th, 8 to 2. And that's it.
Thank you. And I want to join those who spoke earlier in congratulating staff on a superb July 4th celebration, and express deep thanks, especially to those staff who worked on the holiday to help make this happen. Madam Clerk, have you completed your tabulation for item 23?
The votes are still being tabulated.
How close are we to done?
Very close, almost done.
So, Mr. Heilman, did you have anything to report tonight?
Nothing to report. Sorry, I couldn't take more time.
Can you say that a little more slowly?
Yeah.
Mayor, a quick announcement. Joining us today in the meeting, he's as part of the audience. We have a summer clerk law program, and one of our summer associates is joining us for the meeting. He's not a panelist, so you won't be able to see him, but his name is Jovan Wiggins. He's a graduate of La Quinta High School. Is currently back home with parents. I want to say it's City of Indio. We're doing our summer program virtually this year, so he's home as opposed to being in one of our other offices. But he's joining us today, and we can't see him, but he's there. So
great.
Introduce him to the City Council.
I see his name. Welcome, Mr. Wiggins. I'm sure you'll find that public sector law is extremely invigorating and fulfilling. So enjoy your summer.
And here, I might put somebody on the spot, but why wouldn't I? We have a new team member also, Andy Ramirez, and he is also on.
All right, Neve, have we given enough time?
Yes, the votes have been tabulated, and Thomas Metz is on his way to report to you in just a moment.
Mayor, can I add something in the meantime to piggyback on what Mayor Pro Tem mentioned about the 9 Cities Blood Challenge? My understanding is that Palm Desert came in second place by only 2 units last year. So just this close. And so whether you donate platelets and they let you donate weekly or whatever your interval schedule is, there's plenty of opportunities, and wholeheartedly agree. Everybody wins when we participate.
Thank you for that. Mr. Metz.
Yes, the property owners voted to renew the district. It's measured in dollars. The total ballots cast were exactly $34,912.04. Out of that, the yes vote was $30,416.65. The no vote was $4,495.39.
Thank you. In response to this vote, I need 2 motions. The first, a resolution of the City Council declaring the results as just stated for the property owner protest proceeding for President's Plaza 3 Property and Business Improvement District. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
Please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And then we need the implementing resolution of the city council ordering renewal of the President's Plaza 3 Property and Business Improvement District and the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 21-22. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
And
A second.
please take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Quintanilla,
Aye.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
very good. That concludes our work, I believe, Mr. Metz. Yes, I'll take his departure as a yes. And it also concludes our agenda. So congratulations to all who enabled great efficiency. Stay well, stay hydrated, and we are adjourned.
Meeting adjourned 5:12 p.m.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.